Hello and welcome back. We are here continuing as the supreme overlord of Western France, Emperor Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, his undead excellency. He has already been assassinated, but he's back and he's ruling. So what can we really do about it? We are also, all hail the Baguette Centaur, obligatory Baguette Centaur reference, and then we are going to be doing some justice today. So, as some of you might know, the English are being English, and we are here to punish them, to smite their ruin upon the mountainside. And in this war that we have already kind of prepped up from the end of last episode, we will be completely removing every single unit of tea production from the British market by conquering Zanzibar, conquering the British Congo, Gabon, transferring Siak, which produces some, that's a subject, transferring Canada, mainly that's just to be polite, and then also taking West Sahara to kind of clean up this border. But this will eliminate all of the sell orders of tea from the British market, which of course is a great sense of justice. We cannot crush their bodies, we must first crush their spirit, and by taking all the tea out of the market, we will be doing just that. If we hover here, we will see there are 235 units of tea being produced, and they are being produced in Gabon, Congo, Siak, and Zanzibar, and that is it. So onward towards truth, justice, and the removal of tea from the British Empire, as is foretold with the start of this run. It's always a beautiful thing when the car is loud outside when you're recording, and of course, the British are not yet on trench, and you have trench infantry. This is an asymmetry I can approve of. We're pushing into them pretty comfortably up here, and, we have a proletarian revolt. We'll be putting that down before we become the Commune ourselves, eventually, I'm sure. So I'm sure we can spare some people. We have a lot of guys sorted out on a lot of different fronts. We'll send someone over to deal with that. But this war is going quite well. We are pushing in quite quickly. We are putting down some rebellions and this sort of stuff. But this is one of the main three objectives we kind of had situated for ourselves at the start of the run. The other being kind of unpurchasing this Louisiana. And of course, restoring the proper French borders. Currently, we're in control of mostly only Western France. Eastern France is still, we got some subjects in Eastern France, but we haven't fully taken back France, and so we'll be continuing on. It actually has been quite a few days since I've been playing on this run, and so if I missed some things in terms of continuity, I apologize. Was on vacation a little bit, but we get the Metropolitan Police event. Don't see this one too often. Medals for everyone, or let's see, minus radicals in Ile-de-France, where we are eventually going to be wanting to have Paris Finest on the case. Sure, why not? We get a landing in, no resistance here, and man, it's not looking good for them. War will be over shortly, as will be their tea drinking activities. And we get graduated taxation here. Chef's kiss. I always find it interesting that graduated taxation does require like a second to adjust, as do all the tax systems when you initially pass them. We knew we would not be making as much money on graduated, but it has overall better distribution in terms of where money is spread, and it will in the future be the best tax system. And man, it seems like in patch 1.3, again, not fully into it, haven't fully explored it yet, but it really seems like passing laws is kind of a long experience, and so we're kind of gonna just pass stuff as we can, still looking to kind of move towards multiculturalism. I know we can use an anarchist to do this, but this is the types of stuff we want to pass. I think we're going to leave child labor on, maybe. Passing it is good, but we're more likely to roll a humanist when we don't do this, and we'll keep going on. And the British have a capitalist revolt, so they're in trouble here. Probably going to enforce on them relatively shortly. So as a strategy, I'm not really sure how effective exiling dissidents is, but this is something that you can do. Just exile a dissident. I know it's blocked by my screen or my picture, but this is something you can do to try and roll someone who's a bit better. And while we have currently, let's just kind of select him through here, we have our market liberal Boyo, who is leading some flotillas, and if we exile him, we can try and roll someone else as the leader of the Intelligentsia, and this way, hopefully, we can try and maybe move towards getting someone who is, one of the ideologies we want, which is humanist. Unfortunately, we rolled a radical, which is really not quite what we want. But this might be one of the gameplay patterns that becomes critically important. Now, I do believe there's a cooldown period. I don't think we can just, exile this guy. And this guy is also apparently a historical figure, Georges Clemenceau. So it's neat to see him. And so we'll be continuing trying to find ways to move and shake and try and, sneak our way into getting, of course, the humanist with the primary purpose of being able to get multiculturalism, which will be really huge considering all the Chinese provinces we have here. We would just love for the Chinese labor to come on over to, Western France proper. That way we can get some people working. And of course we get electricity here, which is going to be big nice. So for the electricity, we're going to actually build it up in Dalmatia, which we took off of Austria at the start of the game. This is one of 3 provinces which has a building electricity output, loud car outside, which is a very unique modifier. The other 2 places are both New York and Ontario, and so with just the 15% output juice, we want to specialize here in Dalmatia in electricity, and hopefully at some point eventually have a land route here, so we do not need convoys to maintain the connections between the ports. I think this is becoming increasingly important. I need to take a look at the numbers. I believe one of the PMs got nerfed in terms of the amount of convoys it gives, and so convoys are a little bit harder, but for now, we'll just be up in the power plants here in Dalmatia. We'll just drop a casual 51. We'll add a few ports at the front here and then a few railways. That way we will not be, running negative infrastructure. We do have a ton of infrastructure. Another thing to note is generally kind of having infrastructure really high. Actually, let's not build this many all at once because I don't think we have that much. Yeah, we don't have that much labor. So we're just going to drop down a casual 11 and we're actually going to delete this food industry. Except we can't because we're on laissez-faire. But the idea is even if you have like really, really expanded out infrastructure, the max level of migration is based on infrastructure, and so kind of easing into this by overexpanding the railways is kind of an okay strategy. We probably should have been doing this a little bit earlier, to try and facilitate this eventual hyper specialization here in terms of power plants. But we'll also find another place in France proper Western France proper. To have an electricity place, and this will be good because it'll allow us to start using some of these good PMs, and we're also working towards electrical capacitors right now. So we enforce on Great Britain, and in doing so, a great justice has been restored or created or had at our baguette hands. If you look in here, we can take a look at luxury goods, and we're like, oh, okay, let's look for some luxury goods. You know what's going to be really nice? Some drink. What about some liquor? Okay, they have some liquor. They have some wine. Oh, what's this? 5 sell orders of tea. Where are they coming from? Where are your sell orders coming from, dear Roots? They're only from trade routes. That's right. The British are producing 0 tea. They went from being the biggest producer of tea at the start of the game in their market to 5 units of tea. That's right, only the Queen can drink tea, and not even that much at it. We have succeeded in removing all of the tea from the British market. This is not just a result of their capitalist revolt, although that doesn't help, but the fact that we have kind of completely eliminated. Look at this. There's not much red over here except for South Australia. We're kind of just, phase them out of this. The sun never sets on the French Empire, and we will continue towards annexing Brazil, which is what this war was all about initially to begin with, when Great Britain thought that they could do some imperializing and counter-Frenching, which was a rookie mistake, and they have been promptly punished in the form of no tea. So for France, we do have this Algerian departments sort of event chain, which we've kind of not really been paying too close attention to up until this point. It requires us to have a lot of French people here in Algeria, and we've kind of been ignoring that, but now we are kind of trying to push that a little bit by pushing up manufactories in each of these places to increase employment and to help try and drive migration to these places, because while we cannot, the primary cultures, while we cannot turn these people people into French. As individuals migrate here that we do accept, we can turn them into French, and we can kind of push up the towards the 20% French numbers that we need to have in these provinces by kind of pushing this. And so hopefully we get to kind of continue to do some of the French localization. We're still kind of looking for a way to proc Paris Commune. We have to be defeated in a war. That actually is probably going to be a little bit difficult. We're probably going to back down against a native uprising of some sort. And then we also need to have a liberal revolution or a socialist revolution. So we'll have to figure out some way to kind of proc that or to push that. You know, we don't really have any socialist in government right now or this sort of stuff. We have some agitators. Maybe we should kind of exile these agitators. Unfortunately, we already used our exile mechanic, and so we're going to need to, or our exile interaction, so we can't do that till 85. We thought we were big brain, but maybe our brain wasn't so big, because now even if we find an agitator we want, we can't get them. Really trying to get this multiculturalism action going, but we'll see what we can do, see if we can do some of the other French localization, you know, and paint this map like one of our French girls here as we continue on, just kind of making it more blue. So we're still trying to go for America, or as we like to call it, the Unified Scientific Associates, still USA. I have some tragic news here. It appears, if we can highlight over here, that Louis Napoleon Bonaparte has died. Allow us to move our camera here so that we can say goodbye to the dear, sweet emperor slash necrotic warlord slash terrifying unit that was Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. You see, we have Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, his son, has taken the reins after he deposed him. We no longer have him as an agitator, and now it appears that perhaps we have gone through the very last Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, and the only one that remains in existence is the one that lives on in our nightmares as the undead warlord. So I think that this might be it for Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. I'm still looking through here. I don't see him as an agitator. I think he is gone. I hope he is gone. I feel a sense of unease, both for the future of, you know, monarchical France, because we haven't had a monarchy for some time. We have been a necrocracy ruled by the dead, and the dead keep it. And so now we, of course, are a monarchy, and I think that might be bad for political stability. Communism. Marx. And we'll see what happens here. I have no idea what might happen. None. So, looking to proc the Paris Commune event, it looks like there's a decent chance we actually force a revolution, which is going to be a little bit difficult considering our current situation regarding, you know, we have home affairs pretty cranked up and we're doing relatively well, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to start easing up taxes, even though this is kind of bad, in order to increase the radicals from standard of living decreases, and so hopefully this allows us to maybe force a rev, or give some flexibility in regards to forcing rev. A big part of it, of course, is going to just be, you know, changing the law in a way someone really hates when the time is right. But doing this, I think we'll kind of set ourselves up, and we'll kind of stall out this kind of situation where we still have a decent amount of radicalism going, but we get something out of that, which is namely, we're just going to blast all of this extra funds into construction. Now, a couple other things that have happened. We annexed Switzerland and we puppeted Netherlands. No big deal. They're not neutral anymore either, are they? But we will continue on trying to, you know, reunite all of France and take eastern France, kind of, you know, in this region area, as we, you know, put down a few revs and this sort of stuff, put out some fires, and kind of wait for some of our truces to time out, like the one with the United Scientific Associations of the Americas, because we're trying to unpurchase that Louisiana there. So we are about to cross into the 1 billion GDP territory. We've added about 1k construction since the last update, which is, and we're still running a little bit of a surplus. We're still going to continue to add more, but there's the billion GDP. First time we've hit it. We have been cranking up pretty quick on the GDP. We're going to look to push it, kind of test drive and see kind of what we can do to some extent. We're in really good shape here, obviously, and we're also annexing up Abaddon, who, of course, will not back down because no one ever backs down when you're annexing them. But this is okay. We will have to do a ton of these little itty-bitty wars, to try and recover the rest of Eastern France. But this is just, what Charlemagne had to do, so we'll do it just as well. Without the great leader at the helm, our necrocracy is over. So improved fertilizers is kind of a big important tech for kind of changing the way things work, or kind of the way you look at agriculture, because it really, really makes all the grain farms a lot better. And so when you swap over onto this, then you kind of generally want to start maybe expanding the grain farms a little bit more. You still want to be more capitalist oriented, but swapping all over all of these is going to make a pretty big difference. It will probably jump our GDP a decent amount. I don't think it's enough to move it in terms of the 1.1 billion type of decent amount, but this is going to be a decent inflection point where we are going to want to start including more sort of automatic expansion, specifically on either rice or millet in places specifically where we do not have a lot of unemployment. We won't look to auto-expand rice in any of the Chinese territories because we'll cause a lot of unemployment, but other than that, we will look to push some of the grain up in a few places, probably some millet in Africa, in areas that don't have a lot of cash crops, something like this. And of course Baden is having some bad times, so we get a little bit of localization here with a unique French event, or I assume it's uniquely French. With the construction of the Eiffel Tower, we can choose between, the Parisian public is divided, while some argue that the building should become their most notorious landmark. Others refer to notorious. I wonder if it says notorious just because of this. But okay. Others refer to it as the giant radio tower. They're wrong. The building is Paris itself. We're probably going to do this one, even though it's going to sink our bureaucracy and be bad, but, this is the attitude we want. And we will be getting Alexander Gustave Eiffel with all three of these results. So, at the very least, him appearing is new in 1.3. We can get Intelligentsia Plus and Industrialists Minus. This one would probably be pretty solid. And we can do Machinist Pops will be radicalized, and academics will become loyalists. Actually, all of our academics are here. And so, kind of inclined to do that, except we might be trying to get the Intelligentsia to rev, but we'll just say it'll be demolished in less than 10 years anyways, and we'll see who and what Mr. Gustave looks like. I said we'll see what Mr. Gustave Eiffel looks like. I wonder where he is. Is he here? Not there. Do we not? Where is Mr. Eiffel? It's neat that we have... Oh, there we go. He is now the leader of the Industrialists, and he is a Bonapartist, so that's interesting. He's disliked. So overall, these guys are going to lose some clout, which is kind of all the better because it'll juice up the Intelligentsia. We're still looking, and have been looking, to kind of go and proc the Paris Commune event. So we've been looking for either someone who can pass multiculturalism in here, or someone who can go for communism, and we've been looking really consistently, can't find anything. It's just all presidential republic. A little bit lamentable that it's just presidential republic. It doesn't seem to ever want to proc for parliamentary republic. Generally those have kind of like similar weight, but presidential slightly preferred, so you can go, it's easier to go parliamentary to presidential than presidential to parliamentary. And I think that some of those agitators, in theory, maybe should support parliamentary, but maybe this is outside my purview. But we are going to be continuing on with this nice little war, where it looks like we have a decent chance to full annex multiple, Eastern French miners, and so we will probably be doing that in this war because a lot of them have joined in on this alliance block. So hopefully this war goes pretty well in terms of us, picking up some more Eastern France. It was the best of fronts, it was the worst of fronts. Here we have, of course, the classic Victoria 3 frontage problems in action. Of course, we're just ramming through them because we have a way bigger military, but whenever you have a ton of different countries, you get this beautiful disaster piece of a front thing going on in the middle of your wars. So we have managed to tidy up some borders here in eastern France, looking to make those look a little bit nicer and look to have France kind of stretch where it's supposed to stretch. But for today, we will be concluding the episode. The big story of this episode is we completely removed all of the tea production inside of the UK's market, so now they gotta import it. There's no way about it. They are importing all of their tea. We have removed all the tea from the British market, and so we will continue likely to be, slapping them around for some time to come, but the important thing is we have won a moral victory today by denying them of all their tea. In 3 weeks, we have our truce with the United Scientific Associates up, and so next episode we will be looking to unpurchase Louisiana, or at least continue unpurchasing Louisiana as we go quite right along. The sun never sets on our empire. Another thing we can do is it appears that Guangdong is the place where Qing has their trade capital, and so if we just took Guangxi, this would cause their market access to collapse, especially if we also took Shaozhou along with it, and so we might be doing something like this. But for now, we're going to call it an episode, pretty productive in here, in addition to denying the UK all of the tea. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, / do the YouTube algorithm stuff, hit the notification bell, etc., mostly etc., and have a good day.